That is correct. Yep, non-custodial wallet, and the words it's kind of funny how these words shift, but a lot of the words are kind of shifting more towards self-custody, because when a person that is outside of this space hears the phrase non-custodial, the word doesn't mean a whole lot to them. But when you at least hear like self-custody, you're like, maybe that implies that I take on the ownership myself. So you're absolutely right that Exodus is a self-custodial wallet.
Okay, so let's, if you will, I think part of this point of this episode is to explain these terms to the public.
Yes.
So maybe let's first start with, I'll ask you just to walk through what does that mean? Like what other possibilities are there? And then maybe we can appeal to, like, I'll have you give the case if to someone who's like, you know what, that's too much trouble. I don't want to learn how all that stuff works. And maybe you can talk to that person. But before we even get there, let's explain what do these terms mean? So what do you mean self-custody? What does that mean?
Yes. So what self-custody means is that you yourself control the crypto assets. So you can think of, if we use like traditional banking parlance, and you put your money in a bank, the money has custody, the bank has custody of your money. Whereas if you compare that to, let's say, at home, you might have, you're going to have your wallet where you might keep some cash. You might even have a safe. And in your safe, you might have some cash there, and you might have maybe some gold or what have you. And so you can use that same kind of analogy and you can apply it to the crypto world. And so in the crypto world, you have exchanges. And so Coinbase, very popular exchange. Everybody has most likely heard about FTX, and we can talk about that here shortly. Mm-hmm. And so FTX was another very popular exchange. And so what this means is that these exchanges, they have custody of your funds. Whereas, and we can talk about the importance of that in just a minute of why that's a risk, versus Exodus. If you use Exodus as a self-custodial wallet, means that you have full control of your funds. In other words, we cannot stop you in anything that you do with your money. If Exodus were to shut down, go out of business, then you can take your private keys and you can move those private keys to another self-custodial wallet to make sure that your money in your crypto is always protected and always in your control.
Okay, great. Let me make a series of statements, and hopefully they will all be true. And at worst case, you'll just have to clarify, and you want to say, no, that third thing you said is demonstrably false. That would be awkward. We wouldn't even just edit it out if that happens. But okay, so in terms of like how cryptocurrencies work, there's a blockchain and there's addresses, and in order for someone to, in a sense, transfer, let's say we're talking Bitcoin, transfer some units of a Bitcoin from one address to another, you need to have the private key to be able to sign that transaction and for the public to realize that you are the legitimate owner, let's use that term, of that. Okay. And so what happened like with Mt. Gox and some other places, and it is also the case with Coinbase, that they have the keys?
Yes.
Right? Okay. So what happened, like with Coin, let's pick something that didn't have a scandal, like Coinbase right now. So people say, oh, I've got, I got 3 Bitcoins. It's at Coinbase. Strictly speaking, the Coinbase is the one that has the private keys for that. So that person who's talking like that would not be able to go directly and move the Bitcoins on the Bitcoin blockchain to somebody else because he doesn't have the private keys. He's not, he doesn't directly control them. What is the case is that Coinbase legally owes him that, just like if you put a $100 bill in Bank of America and it's in your checking account, you no longer have you can't give that $100 bill to the grocery store. You don't have control over it. Bank of America owes it to you. They can't just go spend it and say, oh, tough luck, but strictly speaking, there's a degree of, you don't have as much direct control over it. Whereas you're saying with these self-custody cases, the client at home with their laptop has the private keys, and so Exodus couldn't take them and give it to somebody else if they wanted to. Is that all true?
Yes, absolutely. So you're absolutely right that if you hold your money on Coinbase, and Coinbase has made a great product, but if you hold your money on Coinbase, there is a risk that Coinbase, for some reason, maybe you get locked out of your account, or maybe you're in a country that was once supported and is no longer supported. Then you run the risk that your money you could be blocked from accessing your money. And that's the most important part. And so when you have a self-custodial wallet like Exodus or any of the others that are out there, you can transfer your money or do anything with your money to protect your money, and it's 100% under your control. And it may be worth just talking a little bit about the FTX situation, if you think, and why this can even be a risk outside of just the aspect of potentially Coinbase or some exchange locking you out. One of the bigger risks that can happen that we saw with FTX. Do you think that would be valuable?
I do want to get there in a second, but let's first, just this term wallet, just like how mining is an interesting term that they use. I've had other guests on there who talk about that, but just the word wallet. So there, as it suggests with paper currency, what does a wallet do? It's not the money. It's the thing where you put your money in. It's a convenient way for you to hold your money for when you want to deploy it, right? Technically, you could just have a bunch of bills stuffed in your pocket or just hold them in your hand walking around, but it's a lot easier to just store them all in your wallet to when you want to buy something. And so that's what a wallet does in the context of digital assets, is it's the thing that helps you organize and keep track of it. But again, just because you buy a wallet from the store and now have it in your pocket, it's not that the store now controls your money. No, they sold you the wallet that you still on your own personally keep custody of your $10 bills. And that's what Exodus is doing?
Yes, absolutely. So in kind of that traditional finance parlance, yes, absolutely. A wallet allows you to store your paper bills. If anybody out there still uses checks, you could put your check in a physical wallet that you have in your pocket. But these days, of course, a lot of people will use credit cards, and people keep their credit cards in their wallet. But your wallet that you actually have in your pocket becomes an easy means for you to walk around and conduct and buy goods and services. Absolutely. So yes, with a software wallet like Exodus, you can do that exact same thing. You have full control, except it is on your phone.
And right. And so the inner value that you guys are providing is the interface is very convenient and secure, so that somebody isn't having to jot down their private keys for what's my Ethereum, what's my Bitcoin, have something on a Post-it note that they have in their back pocket every time they want to buy and sell using those particular cryptocurrencies.
That's absolutely right. So a lot of people may not be aware of this, but there are tens of thousands of cryptocurrencies out there. And so Bitcoin is by far the most popular one, but the second most popular one is Ethereum, and there are a lot of other cryptocurrencies as well. So what we find is a lot of consumers, what they like to do is they're going to buy some Bitcoin, and then they get into the world of digital assets and cryptocurrency, and then they hear about this. What's this crazy Ethereum thing? Oh, this is interesting. My Exodus wallet supports Ethereum as well. Well, I know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to, right here in the convenience of Exodus, I'm just going to swap a little bit of my Bitcoin for some Ethereum. And then now Exodus as a wallet has allowed me to swap from Bitcoin to Ethereum. And now I can see my remaining Bitcoin, and I can see the Ethereum that I have, and I can see in one beautiful portfolio and one beautiful interface. So it's all managed from one interface.
Okay, great. Yeah, I think we pushed enough on that somebody who didn't know at the beginning now at least gets the metaphor and can understand. Okay, so now yes, you mentioned part of the problem with allowing some other institution to actually maintain custody, and legally speaking, they just have a liability to you of crypto assets. You said one thing is just what if you just forget your password or you lose your phone or say it's hard, you can't prove to Coinbase that you are who you say you are. There's that element. But then you said, with FTX, of course, there was something qualitatively different from that sort of risk.
Absolutely. So with what happened with FTX is, so FTX, they became a very popular exchange. And if Tom Brady's promoting FTX and Kevin O'Leary's promoting FTX and it's on the Miami Heat arena, FTX must be a great platform, a great exchange. And look, the whole world really bought into this. So Sam Bankman-Fried, or SBF as he's known, created FTX, and they started, accepting customer deposits. And then what they did through one of their hedge funds, they started borrowing customer assets and then making risky bets with those customer assets.
Mhm.
And so then when word started to get out that this was happening, you had the equivalent of a digital bank run. So people, let's say you had, 1 Bitcoin and 5 Ethereum in FTX, and you go to FTX, you're hearing the bad news, you're like, there might be something wrong with FTX. And you decide that, you want to withdraw. You have to, you would have had to log into FTX, and you would have to withdraw your Bitcoin and withdraw your Ethereum. But the withdrawals are not instant. You would have to wait, and you'd have to wait in a queue. And because they effectively were doing a fractional reserve, they couldn't fulfill all the withdrawals. And so this created a scenario where a lot of people lost billions of dollars, and the bankruptcy trust is trying to recover all that money now. But you can imagine if you're a person in, let's say Brazil, and let's say you've been saving up 5,000 or 10,000 from the hard work on your family farm, and you've been investing in cryptocurrency, and you've been hearing about FTX because it's such a trustworthy exchange, they said. And you put your money in FTX, and maybe you're earning a little bit of yield. And then all of a sudden, to have your life savings wiped out because of the lack of control that you had in your assets, because of the heinous actions that FTX did, that's devastating. And that kind of scenario happened to millions of people around the world that trusted FTX. So that's a really important implication, that when you use these custodial exchanges, you are giving up full control and trust to the exchange. Like you said, they have a liability to give you those assets back when you request them, but it doesn't always happen.
Hey, everybody, this is Bob Murphy. Thanks for listening to this clip from the InFi podcast. If you like what you heard and want to hear more, please consider subscribing and share this video with others. We've got new episodes dropping every Friday with more insightful discussions. Stay tuned.